All right. Ooh, got the echo on here. 1 second. Sorry about that, folks. All right. A little technical hiccup there. Anyway, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Um, my name is Dustin Hurt, and I'm the director of the Philadelphia chapter of the American Composers Forum. And we've been doing a nice series of artist talks this pandemic, but it's been great to hear about so many different members of our artist community. So got another one of those talks today. Um, as you saw in those titles, we have a couple new talks that have just been announced. One on April 27th, another one on May 5th. So definitely check those out, and you can check out those events and other things we have coming up on our website, acfphiladelphia.org. We're always adding new stuff, and we're going to have stuff all summer long and opportunities for composers. So definitely please tune into that. Um, that's about all I have as far as announcements go today. We have a great conversation ahead of us with Dan and Kinan, and I'm just going to turn it over to them so we can get to their talking and listening. So Dan, Keenan, take it away.
All
Thanks.
right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dustin.
Dustin.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Keenan.
How you doing?
Here we are. This is good. I was just saying, I said when we first signed on that your background, the colors of your background are just so nice.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
thanks.
it's such a good,
Yeah, I
it's such
think
a
it
good
was a
color.
mistake, a nice mistake.
Hey, there you go, right? Cool.
And
Well,
by the way, this is my grandmother.
yes. Always
Yeah.
have to have the grandmother in the photo.
Oh,
No
yeah.
shot. I should have more stuff for my grandmother in here. Yeah, man. How are you doing today? Like it's spring, right? It's
It's,
good.
you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say it very out loud, but it should be said. I mean, I'm still trying to push myself to re-enjoy life, after this all year. So it's really nice to have at least like a day of nice weather,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hopefully we're gonna go back to normal somehow.
Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. But
Yeah.
I was thinking like I don't know about you, but there's been a couple of things about this whole lockdown business
Yeah.
that have actually been like a little bit nice. And I was wondering if there was anything that's actually been like good musically speaking for you in like this past year.
Funny enough, it was, although I'm sure you may have the same lifestyle, but I always work from home, composing or even practicing. Like I do 99% of my stuff at home. So at the beginning of the COVID, I have a lot of hard drives, and some of them are bare. Like I take them out of computers and move from Chicago to somewhere else and keep them. So I had the chance to open like four hard drives, discover many old pieces that I don't know, I forgot about or something like this. So I began taking one by one, just trying to remember actually what were they, and like when they were written or something. So I think out of the whole lockdown, I was able to go like through memories. Some of them are like recentish, like 5 6 years old, but I just didn't want to tackle anymore.
Yeah,
So yeah, I've been actually most of my work is working on those old pieces,
that's
trying
awesome.
to rejuvenate, do something, and hopefully soon going to be released somehow. Yeah. How about you?
Well, that's cool. No, that's awesome. I look forward to hopefully we'll hear a little bit of those today. I mean, for me, I was joking with a student a couple weeks ago that, oh, I used to play my instrument for a living, but now I just teach on Zoom for a living. But no, there have been some really nice things. I think it's I haven't missed trying to hustle for gigs. I haven't missed trying to match up schedules of people.
Yeah.
Um, but and I think that it's kind of been like a little bit like a residency, you kind of I feel a little more distilled than I did before,
Yeah.
a little bit maybe more like myself. I don't know. It's been a hard year, but I will say that I feel like I'm making some good music right now, so I'm pretty happy about that. Um,
That's great.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of what if we play? What if we play some music for people? So we'll get some. We'll start them off with some sounds.
Yeah, let's do. Yeah, you want to play something?
Yeah, I'll play something. All right, let's see. I think I'm gonna play this piece that is part of. So in 2019, I was lucky enough to be one of the people who did this jazz residency at the Kimmel Center, and I hope they continue that program when this is all through. Although who knows? And this is one of the piece. This is one of the movements of this piece. I made sort of like I've been all the long works I make are kind of these concert suites, and will actually be a couple from that. But this is one of these concert suites that was dealing with sort of being a diaspora Jewish guy, living, and especially being of Eastern European descent, and then trying to figure out what all that means in this sort of more global world. And we'll say more about that soon. But for now, yeah, I'll just play the music. So this is from the Kimmel Center. This has got a bunch of people, Philadelphians, a couple people from not from Philadelphia, and I think I'll start in the middle of the bass solo. Nobody needs to hear a whole bass solo, right? That's a good spot to close it off for now.
That's very cool.
Thanks, Kinan. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice to see that again.
Yeah. I think a while ago we were supposed to do something like this. You called me for it. Was it this or was it something else?
Yeah, it was that.
Also, I was supposed to be on here. Okay.
I wanted you.
Next time. Sorry.
Next time.
Yeah.
That's okay. It ended up going in a very different direction overall.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, someday we will play again.
We will. And actually, just I don't want to do a lot of my ADHD, but I think jazz in general is a really beautiful. It could be almost like a neutral space to meet like different kinds of flavors and musics.
Yeah, we definitely. I think that it definitely has. Let's just say it's become a very global meeting place.
Okay,
Regardless,
global,
it came from somewhere from somewhere more specific than that, but not nowadays. It really is this wonderful global market. Village that you can kind of bring a lot of different groups of people together for different ways.
Which I really, this is why I love, I mean, I used to love jazz even when I was in Syria. And by the way, I mean, there is like the old traditional jazz that some people say this is only jazz, but sometimes in Europe, improvisational music in general is called jazz.
Yeah, and in America now, depending on where you are, it's very interesting. I feel like there's so much to talk about there, especially coming from our backgrounds. But I want to hear something of yours first.
Let's do, yeah, I'm gonna do something. It's like the listening stuff. I put almost chronologically, like how I price it. This is something, the three notes that build this piece. I think it's maybe the first thing I've written. But the piece itself, it's newer than that. It's just like the three notes. I kept getting obsessed with these intervals, so I'm gonna play it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
cool. Very
Okay,
cool.
yeah, I think it fades nicely. So yeah.
So you said that was written recently, but
It's not really recently. Just like the idea that the motif, that it's something that really like probably like pen and paper. It was like the first thing I just tried to write it.
oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome that you're still in touch with that part of your, musical life, so to speak.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And I mean, sometimes I have to do things immediately on the computer, but I really enjoy the analog pen and paper or pencil and paper. Just visually, it's like so appealing for me.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I what I loved about it was that it was just you were moving so seamlessly between this sort of um the intonation of, is there a maqam involved in this piece or not?
There is,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And it's between the note, the intent, like the sound in the maqam and the pulls that really creates, and then more Western feeling and harmony. That was one thing I really loved, and then also just the way that you orchestrated the background was really wonderful.
Oh yeah,
The
thank
sort
you.
of the groove to it.
Yeah.
Those were two things that were really cool. So that's, yeah. I mean, this sort of is a beautiful segue into what we were like sort of thinking about talking about is like, you're sitting at the intersection between sort of two different musical I don't know, umbrellas, genomes. I don't know how do you, so which ones are they, and how, we've got, and how do you think about it, and like how does that relate to you as a, because you're a cellist and a composer, you're from Syria but you lived here, it's like so much stuff.
It is. I don't know. I think the word does not exist, and I don't know if it has any negativity in it. But I call it the schizo culture.
Okay.
That really like sometimes. I mean, I am Syrian, as you can see, like big nose stuff, and like I use my hands a lot, and bald too.
We share this in common. This is good.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of shared DNA too.
Yeah.
But it's really I don't want to say annoying, but traditionalists in music we're talking, they expect you to be traditionalist just because you have studied all this maqam and stuff. Avant-garde people and the people who are all the way to the experimentalist music, they also expect you to be there because like you studied here and like you're composing. You cannot compose anything that sounds romantic. This is an offense to new music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a nice struggle. I think it's a beautiful struggle.
It's so funny. So, I've been very lucky. Just reminded me of this amazing time when, so my friend Nick Milivoy and I were invited to this new music festival,
Yeah.
and so we were looking, at night we'd look up for reviews of our concert or whatever. We played our concert, and we had, someone was like, I heard my first major triad at this festival, and it's a real disappointment.
Yeah. So yeah, try it
And
out.
we were like, man, sorry, power chords are gonna happen. You put an electric guitar up there, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. It is really interesting. So before I sort of launch into it, because I have a slightly different way of navigating those things because of the tradition that I've involved in and its specific history. But I want to hear a little bit more about. So did you study sort of Western classical and maqam music at the same time? Did you learn at the same time, or one after the other, or what?
Actually, it was literally the same time. Like I was doing both. I studied the oud and the cello almost at the same time,
Okay.
and then I studied the very classical music. Like the one that you have to smile and shave and like wear a clean white shirt, while also studying the maqam and Arabic music, which is it's really like total opposite mentality. You just sit back and have fun.
Oh,
I
good.
mean, of course, classical. No offense to either. Okay, I don't.
Hey, you do both. You're allowed to comment on it.
Oh yeah, I can bash both of them. But so yeah, I did both of them, and I kind of love both of them equally.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is part of also like who I am.
That makes sense. You learn them
Yeah.
both at the same time, right? Yeah,
How
it's really
about you?
interesting. Well,
Yeah.
it's really interesting because I was thinking about, you were saying like you were presenting it as this sort of pressure, like you have pressure from one side to be this, and you have pressure from one side to be that, and then you are just yourself, and you have to sort of, maybe, I don't know if you felt like you've had to like fight for your place to be yourself, or maybe you had to go somewhere else to be yourself or whatever. But and I'd love to hear your answer on that. But for me, it's interesting. So I'm Dan. I'm Jewish. I'm from Philadelphia. I live only 2 miles from where I grew up. Uh, and I'm a child. I'm a student of the Philadelphia public school system and the Settlement Music School, and then eventually, like, other places. And so all the musics that I kind of come to, whether it's jazz or the ways in which I engage in classical music, or klezmer, which is a big thing of what I do, that came mostly through after high school in the New England Conservatory. And it's like, but it was all like, I was always in a place where one of these things was happening. So I'm very lucky in that I've never had to sort of stake out a strong position against what was going on around me. I'm very lucky for that.
Yeah.
And even so, klezmer music, for anybody who's on this call, who doesn't know what that is, I'm just curious to see if there's anybody. Maybe. Okay, maybe. I don't think so. Anyway, so it's, Eastern European Jewish music, big history in there, but in its modern form, and the way that I kind of came to it was also happening alongside stuff in New York with John Zorn and Frank London and someone like Don Byron, who was even putting out these records. And so you have this stuff that's happening. Being an avant-gardist and a klezmer musician was like the normal thing to do,
Yeah.
so it wasn't hard for me, and I didn't, and in some ways, I feel like I'm more of a traditionalist than a lot of the people I learned from when it comes to klezmer music,
Yeah.
even as I maintain this other world of stuff, and that's been a very interesting thing. And also, I didn't grow up with it. I grew up with what we call like a mainstream Jewish life, which is cultureless. It's a religion, right? You can't, it's kind of like, well, what's your culture? Your culture is eating matzah on Passover. Well, that's also the religious ritual, so it's not really the same thing. And it's not like, unless somebody decides to do it, it's not like the songs that your grandmother thinks or the foods that you eat. I mean, it is a little bit, but it's like bagels and lox, like everybody eats that, and even matzah now is like this sort of funny thing where someone's like, oh, I love matzah. And I'm like, why? But anyway, it's like, so all this sort of traditional cultural music of my people, music of my heritage, blah, blah, blah. I had to take that on and learn it from the outside, even though I was learning it from other Jewish people, and then find my place in it. And now, it feels as though me and my family, like, we kind of dug ourselves in there, and now we're part of it. But it's very different. I think it's very different, and it's very different in terms of the expectations that are put on you than maybe what you were, dealing with, because it was, it was everywhere I'm assuming it was just sort of like it's like, well, you're going to be a musician and you live here, so you're going to work on this kind of music or something like that.
I mean, it varies on the situation. Like sometimes I'm in Philadelphia in the same week, but I'm having 2-3 conversations with people, and really everyone has like this expectation of, you have to be very traditionalist. The quarter tone should be this much, not this much, because like every region have their own quarter tone. The same with the classical musicians. You have another, the vibrato should be only this. Don't do it. You're not playing Arabic music or something like this. So I think it comes a lot because, like, no matter what I do, I'm always gonna be a Syrian who have an accent when I speak English, and I live in the United States. So actually, I funny enough, I used to try to hide it, like, hey, my name is Kinan, what? But at the end, I cannot fake it anymore. So I'm just gonna be myself.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd rather have you being your full self out here.
Yeah, because it's and the same is musically. I mean, this was in everyday life, but also musically. I'll just do whatever I enjoy to do. I don't know if it's time to go to next piece or not.
Well, can I just ask you one thing that you can use to segue into your next piece? And the
Okay.
question is, did you always mix both systems in your own music, or did you try to, or did you say like, I'm going to do this or that, and then I'm going to mix it, or what?
Oh, I think this is you're gonna regret that you asked the question.
Okay.
Because the answer is I'm gonna try to summarize. Other than classical music, traditional Arabic music is extremely heterophonic. It's one
Yeah.
melody, and that's it. You embellish, you do whatever you want. You make mistakes, that's fine, but that's it. So this was actually my obsession with jazz back then. Is this like the harmony? It's so beautiful. And for me, I keep saying this, but for me, coming from heterophonic tradition, listening to jazz or trying to do something with jazz or to fake it even, it's really like a kid in a candy shop. And sometimes I overdo it, but it's really harmony for me. It's very exotic. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful segue. I want to hear something that feels very exotic for you. So I want to hear
I
you.
don't
I
think
want to
there's
hear you as a kid in a candy store, musically speaking.
yeah, I don't think I put any samples like this. But what I have is actually the other me, especially with what's happening with Syria and stuff, like things are not pretty anymore. So the next two pieces, if we have the time, it's going to be more of the existentialist. This is for a string quartet. I need to press the button again, right? The share
Yes,
button.
you got to share it again.
Actually, on a second thought, I'm sorry. This is it's going to be not the string quartet. It's going to be a brass sextet.
Ooh.
And I specifically chose it because I want to tell you something about it after we listen.
Yes, please. I don't think you're sharing yet.
I think, yeah, I muted it by mistake. So I just wanted to say, you remember 2, 3 years ago, I think we were playing in the Transonic Orchestra.
Yeah.
And I told you, Dan, I'm writing something for brass. How
Right.
does the staccato sound and stuff like this? So you demonstrate things for me, right?
Yeah.
So actually, I have to thank you so much because like really, you told me I think back then that trombonists you love staccatos, right?
I do.
You do. Okay, so you know what? I forced them to do it. So I written the whole last section that here it was like all like with the staccatos and stuff.
I think you gave him a lot to be happy about. You fed the beast well.
Oh, that's
There.
good. But
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks to you.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm glad to help. Yeah, no, again, that was like really good, very seamless. I love how things sort of morphed over the piece, and like one motive kind of shifted. It was very
It's,
cool,
yeah.
very smooth, and that's awesome. Well, what do you think? Should you want to play another piece, or should I play a piece? What makes?
Actually, I would love to listen to one of your pieces.
All right, cool. So, it's funny. I think I've been on. This is from. So I'll play a piece from a different concert suite, and I think that you mentioned sort of existential, being a little existential, and this piece is an excerpt of another sort of concert suite that was the first one that I did. It was called Together in Struggle, and it was sort of exploring the implications of like looking back on the history of Yiddish song and the history of sort of Yiddish has in America especially, but also in Eastern Europe. The Jewish Ashkenazi culture has a strong, very strong left-wing element in organizations like the Yiddish Bund, and also just in communism and anarchism and socialism and all this stuff. And so I wanted to write this piece that was sort of comparing then and now, at least on a musical level. Maybe the comparison parts only make sense in my head. But yeah, so I'll play you a part from the section called Workers, and I think several of the people who are watching this are on the video. So
Und du ackerst, und du säst, und du viertest, und du nähst, und du hammerst, und du spinnst. Sorg mein Volk, was du verdienst. Kling, klingt der Hammer wie mein Gesang. Kling, klang, zerreißt die Keim und schlagend Zwang. Und der ackerst, und du säst, und du viertest, und du nähst, und du hammerst, und du spielst. Sorg mein Volk, was du verdienst. Klang, klingt der Hammer wie mein Gesang. Kling, zerreißt die Keim und schlaf ins Zwang.
it goes on from there.
This was beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Uh, uh, I think this is one of the reasons why of course, like enjoy your music and playing with you, or like even just like knowing what you're doing. And you share this property with Tom Cranis, who was on
Yeah.
this video. That really, I think, like you're limitless. You can like do sides of, I'm not talking about like, like different personalities or like this, but really like you can do anything and it sounds very beautiful. And I remember the first time I heard you, it was in a jazz club. I forgot, is it, there's a jazz club in Philadelphia. Yeah, my memory is not helping me, but really like I enjoyed a lot this kind of music.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's been great to hear your music and hear how wonderfully integrated, all the sounds that are sort of, in your head come out through your pieces, both the pieces we listen to. I think what I love about it is that everything is like very, very harmonious with or it's in dialogue or whatever, but it's all like right next to each other. And I know for me, I think it's been like in this piece, you have a traditional Yiddish workers song. You have, a little bit of a avant-garde-ish setting, and then you have, but there's still regular Western harmony. Then you have the free improvisation at the same time, like, and it's just. I look at it now, I'm like, okay, this is where I really was. It was like, I didn't know what to do with all this stuff. So I'm like, here's the one thing, here's the other thing. How do we get there? We'll improvise our way through it, So I don't have any struggle being honest with my music, which is, I think, something that I'm really happy about. But, to figure out different ways of sort of melding all the different places. When you come from a lot of places, it can be a little challenging,
It does. And also, I think what I really enjoyed is you have all these elements that everyone has like specific color. But even at the end of the improvisation, I'm still hearing the melody, and like everything is really like put together very, very well.
Thank you.
So very enjoyable.
Yay. Let's see. How are we doing on time? Wow, it's yeah, I mean, what do you think? Should we do some more music, or should you? I know there was something else we wanted to sort of get into.
I kind of do you mean the improvisation and composition, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe this is a good place for me to ask you a question.
Okay.
So you are an avid improviser, and you are an avid composer. What I mean, so I can put it in a question, I have to mention my dilemma. That to some extent, to some point, I was not embarrassed, but I hidden the fact that I do compose. I felt compose, it's like saying, I don't know, it didn't fit with what I thought I do is I create music, think about music, but I thought composer is too big for me to give me the honor of being a composer. But later, especially that I mean, in general, like the Arabic music, it's based on improvisation, embellishments, destruction of melodies to make them undestructed or something like this. And just recently, I mean, recently, I think now I'm getting older, maybe like 15, 20 years ago, I began really writing down, although still hiding the fact that I compose music. Just all these ideas, the improvisation ideas, I'm writing them down. So for you, what's the process? Do you feel any, of course there is a connection, but do you feel any relation between you creating and improvising?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is sort of the question for a lot of us,
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think that for me, I certainly don't see one as more valuable than the other. I think they're equally valuable. I tend to see music as very cultural. So, even certain sounds I place very culturally specifically, especially when it comes to Western harmony and rhythm and things like that. Um, and I think that, so I kind of, it's sort of like, there's this phrase code switching,
Yeah.
where it's like you talk one way with this group of people, you talk one way with this group of people. And, I think I want to be like this, like sort of chameleon who everybody likes, it's like, oh, I'm this for you and I'm this for you and I'm great in all situations. And but for me, it's all a part of a bigger musical like work, oeuvre or world or who I am. So it's like I'm coming as the same person, the same Dan, whether I'm improvising with like today I went to teach some lessons and forgot my mouthpiece at home, and luckily it was a very avant-garde lesson at students, so we were fine. But so from that to trying to figure out how to arrange these traditional songs to everything, I will say that it's what I struggle with personally is how to use notation to I haven't found myself wanting to use notation to represent the more dense or chaotic sounding improvisational aspect or musical sounds that I find very easy to access as an improviser, right? So I would say that there are a lot of musical spaces that for me personally are much easier to access through improvisation than as a composer. And a composer always has to be like this vehicle for something. It always has to be some big deal. I don't know. I think I think it's like I was thinking about something about like where I was thinking about honesty and fearlessness and about how I think I'm very honest, but I think that I'm much more fearless as an improviser than as a composer. And some of that is some of that I think is just my personality. Like I'm much more of an extrovert. So that makes sense. I'm improvising in a space with people, as opposed to sitting at home composing. So some of it has to do with that. Our good friend, um, we'll get to that, Tom. So yeah, I think that's sort of like, it. Does that make sense? Like, it kind of a lot of it's social.
I think it's social also, like maybe it's the same dilemma that you have to, why do you have to label it between improviser or create? Maybe it's a music creator, like
Mm-hmm.
I think in a way you are a creator.
Well, so are you. I mean, okay, so I know that you do some recording. You can record. You have some technology expertise and are able to record on your own, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like live performance, there's like notation, and then there's like recording, right?
Yeah.
And how does that work for you? Because I know one of the things in pandemic is I have like all this gear here now, and it's allowed me to do things that I wasn't able to do before, and I think I'm really excited about the possibilities of this for like a compositional tool,
Yeah, yeah.
So how about you? I mean, how do you use obviously recording is important for documentation, but do you use it otherwise?
Uh, I think I should. The COVID made me. I mean, all this. If you remember, like the hard drives and those forgotten pieces. Um, I think this is where the recording is going to be a good vehicle to like really to make these things possible for people to hear.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not a very documenter kind of a musician. Uh, I I either write it or intentionally forget about it. Like dump it from my this. But I don't know why, but I've never like recorded something to remind me.
Mm. Okay.
It's not like a memo. Not the memo to do. But what I do is either like write it or sometimes like recording a piece and then just forget about it momentarily.
And this is what you're like rediscovering. You have some unmined,
Actually,
or something.
yeah, like what I have is those forgotten things are like more of the ideas that I began working, like really working on producing them, and I just stopped. So I think for each, if I do 10%, it should be going to public, but time happens. Sometimes you change your mind, I don't like it anymore, just
Oh,
forget
that's for
about
sure.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, let's see. So, what should we should play some more music. Maybe I'll start with something this time
Please do, yeah.
then okay. So, um, actually, I think this is a fun one. So I'm going to play this piece. So I 2018, 2017, 2018, I started playing a lot more klezmer. I started teaching a lot more klezmer. Like I had sort of a really pleasing upward career trajectory on the klezmer front. And I started feeling like I was losing touch with the other sides of myself just because I was so freaking busy. So I decided to set a big challenge for myself. And I did this series in West Philly where we did 4 days of original and improvised music. So 2 sets mostly a night. Well, not exactly. No, but it was, so I wrote 3 complete sets of music. One of the concerts was completely improvised. And this one group was centered around this amazing pedal steel guitarist who's an improviser, but also has a background in country and Western, and she's brilliant. And named Susan Alcorn, who lives in Baltimore. And I've known Susan for over 10 years and really always wanted to figure out something to like really give her a showcase. And this was an example, I think, of sort of a little more fearless, just checking in with the sound in my head, the sound in my head and my heart. So there's a piece, I guess it's called Bridge Walk, but I have a very loose, weak, what you'd call it with titles. I really could care less what things are called. That comes from working with klezmer music, where everything has 16 titles or something, because the titles were just made up by the record company. Anyway, here we go.
Ooh, beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, she's something, right, Susan?
The whole thing is really like that. It's
Cool.
very enjoyable.
Um, so let's see. I mean, what? So what do you got?
I have nothing to. Maybe this is the last one. Let me see if it's. I think it's not very long. Okay, so this one, it was a commission by Al Bustan, Seeds of Culture in Philadelphia. It has a Palestinian singer, Dalal Abu Amli, she's very like really very traditional singer. Like she sings all the like almost exclusively the old stuff, the traditional old stuff. But also there was here the crossing choir, which is almost the opposite. And then there's me in between. So this is what I came up. This is the last the last of the work, the last segment of the work. I should press share again, right?
هيهات كتم الغرام صعب على من يروم وهب كأن ملامي يديمه من يديم
ماذا أهل المستعان في الحب
ممن يروم وهب كأن ملامي يديمه من يديم هذا على المستهام هذا على المستهام في الحب ممن يلوم هيهات كتم الغرام صعب على من يروم وهب كأن ملامي يديم من يديم صعب على من يروم وهب كأن ملامي يديم من يديم ماذا على المستهام ماذا على المستهام يا من عدا يا من عدا يا من عدا
يا من نادى وتعدى يا من نادى وتعدى
لما أراك حبيبي لما أراك حبيبي ما بين صدري ونحري يا من عدا وتعدى يا من عدا وتعدى يا من عدا وتعدى الوصال ما قد خلا من أملي فالخيال ما قد علا من نفسي
Wow.
Ooh.
That is what a finale. Well done.
Well, she, I mean, really, like the crossing choir did like singing the quarter tones, and she's like her voice and everything was
She's really fantastic.
pleasurable experience. Yeah.
I want to tell you all the things, the little bits I love it, but I loved out of that. But I'll just point two things. One is the your sort of vocal fugue going into back into the traditional Arabic ensemble sound, like cross cut. That was so good. And then those the bottom, that part near the end. Whoo!
Oh yeah.
You really hit me. Well
This is
done. Well done.
I think this is the side effects of the schizo culture kind of thing.
Oh man, you're honestly, from my perspective, your whole musical oeuvre is way more integrated than mine is. So, you'll have to send me. I'll tell you later. Anyway, so we have a couple minutes left, right? So I know there's a question from it's from Tom Cranes, who was at least featured in one video, and I know is a buddy of both of ours.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, could we talk as composer performers to the relationship of your instrument to your compositional voice? Do you write at the trombone, cello, or at the keyboard, or in your head? I think the easy answer is yes, right?
I'm sorry. I was trying to read it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
That's it. Or maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, that's even better. I like that. No, I know. I'll just say really quick, like, I actually don't write at the trombone as much as I would like to. I know I write mostly in my head or in sometimes at the piano. Actually, the last piece I played was written at the piano, almost like I sat down and was like, it's like some weird like slowed down pop song or something. But
Yeah.
I definitely think a lot. I think a lot as a composer, I think it goes back to what I was saying before, is that actually there's like a ton of sounds that I make on the trombone that I've never tried to notate or use as compositional material. And, but I think that's something I want. It's definitely something I want to do more of. But yeah, how about you? What's your relationships to as a performer to a composer?
Uh, Actually, almost the same. It's always in my head. Um, I mean, piano. I'm not a very good pianist, so
Me neither.
also even with harmonies, I much prefer to imagine the harmony,
Oh, cool.
even if it's gonna sound like very conflicting. But I would like to imagine it first and then write it down. Um, the cello, I it, the first time I think in my other than my own like band pieces, I written finally a piece for solo cello, for classical solo cello, and I didn't play it. And then for some reason I didn't touch that cello while doing it. I felt maybe it's more true to write what I think other than to try to play it and something like this. I don't know. I'm questioning myself now.
Hey, yeah, no, no. Of course, we're not allowed to. We're great. We don't need to question ourselves. No, I think it really depends on what kind of sound world you're exploring. For me, it's like I said, everything's kind of social, cultural, in a time, contingent in a time and place, and so, you know, but for me, it has to be pretty tactile too. So, I haven't written a lot for instruments. I haven't written a lot of music that I wasn't performing in. But I did write this piece for trumpet. But like, I don't know. I have a trumpet lying around somewhere in this basement, and I was trying something, and I found something cool, and I'm like, all right. So the majority of the piece is based off this one trick that I figured out how to do some version of myself, and then the rest of it is like, just like, well, a classical player can do X or Y. But it's like, or yeah, I don't know. I have to compose. I still have to compose from a really comfortable place, whatever that means. And sometimes I don't know. I have a little bit of a fraught experience with the trombone. Like, it's not my. I love it so much, but it's not the easiest thing for me to do. So I think it's not always that safe place where I would feel like I need to compose from, or I feel like I can access whatever the composer mind or whatever that is. It's kind of odd to say it that way, but
True, which is I think I mean to continue. Sometimes I don't know if the word is lazy or I just don't I do not want to do it. But sometimes I have a phrase that I imagine, and I just need to really like figure out how to rotate it or something like this.
mm,
And then here I think the easier way for me is to go back to my origin, and I write with a box. Like leave it up to the performer to do something other than me trying to notate exactly very complicated, like let's say a passage or something like this.
right, yeah, yeah. It's like I know many composers are happy to write to perfectly define all of the complexity they
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
hear. I think if anything, being a performer first, for me, makes it less likely that I want to sort of define all the complexity. I just want to give someone a framework, but and then have them jump on it. But
yeah.
there's a lot of musicians that's a very terrifying prospect for.
That's true. That's true. But I think also it gives justice to the composer and to the performer.
Mm.
Like just to some at least maybe like a percentage of the piece to be kind of more involved with the performer. Yeah, this is what I think.
Dustin asked, "How do we handle that if we are not there for the rehearsals?" So if you leave performers leeway, well, I haven't had that opportunity. I'm not successful enough to have that opportunity yet as a composer. I hope that they would ask me questions. That's what I would. Again, it's all social for me. So I want to have build a relationship with someone who's working on my music, and or have some kind of a, I would imagine in some future where I don't have, God forbid, I don't have the time to talk to somebody, but that there were some resources out there, where it's like, oh, here's something you can engage with that helps give you some ideas. I think that would be. Have you ever had to play have you ever any of your pieces with improvisation played and you weren't involved?
Yeah, and I kind of freaked out because I used to think before that incident, I used to think that take the music and play whatever you want and really like you just do what you do as a performer. But then for some reason I sent music, I think it was in Michigan like 3-4 years ago. And I sent it and it has electronics with it. So I sent the track too. And I didn't hear back from them. And I really freaked out.
Oh man.
For some reason, like I think I was contradicting myself because no, I think the true thing that I do want, as you said, I want some questions and I want to kind of be involved just to check on what's happening or something.
This stuff is important. It involves, we both draw on a sort of like a very wide range of cultural heritage or musical heritage or backgrounds.
Yeah.
And so it's really good when you can sort of, I just want to bring people with me where I've been and where I'm going, because it's not the most common thing in America to, there's, play klezmer music or have some idea of extended technique or anything like that, and it's, I don't know which one's less common. That's a good question. But so you want to say like, oh, well, you could try something like this. And then hopefully, I like to make music where I feel like I'm a little bit different on the other end. So I would like for the performers to have that experience as well. Maybe that's really selfish, but it's our music, so why not be a little selfish?
That's true.
Cool. Let's see, got any other questions? Oh, Dustin.
Yeah, I just want to hop on here and thank the both of you. Fantastic conversation. It's been great to hear so much of your music and hear the ideas. And I think we're going to wrap it up here, but it's been really a pleasure to hear the work that you have already made and hear a little bit about the process. So thanks so much to both of you, and thanks to everyone that joined us today. And hope everyone gets a chance to enjoy the spring and enjoy some more music making together, hopefully soon.
Fingers crossed. And Kinan, it was so great to connect with you on this and hear all that stuff. So
Me too. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're gonna play soon.
That's exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, man. Dustin,
Thank you.
good to see you too.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, see you all.